Good morning, everybody. This is Dina Koepke from Amazon, and I'm presenting today on directives and regulations. In this time, I have a buddy with me. Buddy spelled not like a body, but like a buddy. And that's Torben from Danfoss, who will actually talk about ROS. This is our agenda for today. I will first start to talk about the EU grant scheme and then focus a bit more on circular economy and eco-design. And Torben will then kick in for ROS topics. Generally speaking, if you have a question, please put them into the chat because I have it open on the other side and I can see it. Never hesitate. EU targets and EU Green Deal. As basically was already introduced by Andrea Vogt in her video, this is the big overview that we have on the EU targets. You see the 2020 goals, well known by everybody, where we reach the greenhouse gas emission and renewable energy target, while energy efficiency target we will very likely not meet. For 2030, we had the original targets of 40% greenhouse gas emissions and the others, which were now nearly already overcome by the 55% greenhouse gas emission target that was stipulated by the Commission and agreed by the Council. And we are just in quotes waiting for the Parliament to actually agree on that. If that comes through, in red, you see the potential relevant targets that are calculated based on trying to achieve the greenhouse gas emissions. Now, these targets are posing quite a challenge for the industry, and there will be quite a few revisions of relevant policy instruments to actually deliver these emission reductions and other targets for 2030, all on our way to get to the carbon neutrality in 2050. What kind of legal acts are we talking about here? Mainly, we talk about the Energy Efficiency Directive, Renewable Energy Directive, and the Energy Performance of Buildings Directive, plus eco-design and the relevant regulations thereof, and the F-gas regulation. What helps us on the right-hand side is the post-COVID initiatives, which are supporting the European Green Deal in mobilizing a lot of money to support sustainable investments, where HVACR industry is a very, very relevant player. What does it mean in real terms, tangible terms? When you look at renewable energy and EPBD, you look at the decarbonization of energy in buildings, where the prime tool will be heat pumps, and I'd count in reversible heat pumps or reversible air conditioning systems. In addition, Eco-Design Directive and relevant regulations will push for even more efficient HVACR technology. Concerning the F-gas regulation, we will be pushed more and more to the low GWP and natural refrigerants. DG Climate said already their target is zero F-gas emissions in 2050. And last but not least, when you look at the Energy Efficiency Directive, there will be a lot of pressure on green public procurement. So public buildings and indoor air quality, as well, partly due to the COVID challenge currently, will pose another opportunity and challenge for us as HVACR industry. Just a small slide to show where the money comes from, because it's very difficult to understand how we get to 1 trillion, but it basically on EU budget, and that budget will help and push other entities like the investment banks and national promotional banks and so on to put money in as well. And that's in total is getting us to this 1 trillion number that's in the room. Now let's start straight with the Energy Efficiency Directive and what's the impact that we are facing. The Energy Efficiency Directive is under revision, and we have seen that there is heating and cooling on a quite prominent level, and that prominent level in the former directive has not been really looked at in detail as far as cooling is concerned. It was not addressed at all as far as cooling is concerned, and neither was the waste heat reuse properly addressed. And the local aspects of planning and development of heating and cooling installations was neither in focus, but there we see a lot more potential for heating and cooling aspects. Very similar actually for the Renewable Energy Directive. The revision is as well ongoing, and heating and cooling is looked at as well. And there's discussion whether maybe there should be binding heating and cooling targets in the Renewable Energy Directive. And as well, some measures to encourage the waste heat and cold utilization, because currently waste heat is not given an incentive in the legislative acts, which would actually encourage a much better waste heat utilization. Currently, waste heat utilization is more based on return on investment and less on the impact it would have on the decarbonization targets. So that's where we see in these two legal acts a very good opportunity. Looking at circular economy, another very big topic at the legal level. In the so-called Circular Economy Action Plan, there is now a Sustainable Product Initiative. This Sustainable Product Initiative will, among others, look at the Eco-Design Directive, which is the methodology upon which energy-related products are analyzed and looked at for their potential of efficiency gains. Now, the thinking is to use this eco-design framework and make it applicable to a broader range of products and develop other criteria that are basically looking at resource and material efficiency, but as well what it's called the non-toxic material cycles, which means that we can reuse material later on without actually making it worse for the environment. Like, these pictures we see where cables with copper content are treated in some remote and not yet developed countries in a manner which is really not healthy for anybody. Now, this is under a public consultation in the first quarter of this year, and we expect actually a little proposal at the end of this year, something to watch out for, which we will do. Then eco-design in its core, the relevant eco-design regulations that we are usually focusing on. You are all aware, since I presented it already last year, that Eco-Design Lot 12 for commercial refrigeration is now having the first tier coming into force the 1st of March 2021. So efficiency has to be adhered to. One word here, we have covered in this plug-in display cases, and we have in there display cases that are connected remotely to like a condensing unit. But then we have what we call the semi-plug-ins, which would be a, in quotes, standalone display case that is connected to a water circuit, a cold water circuit, to bring the heat outside of the building. And this is currently not under the regulation in Lot 12. Now we have a bit of a conflict here. Eurovent actually states that semi-plugins are implicitly covered, and they published as well how they should be calculated. But I am convinced that this is contentious. I don't think that this is actually the case. That will only become the case when the regulation is reviewed. Furthermore, there's the energy label database, which is as well mandatory now as of March for specific products, including supermarket refrigerating cabinets and some others. And last but not least, these products will be impacted by the F-gas regulation as of the 1st of January 2022, because when we see those products as hermetically sealed equipment for commercial use, then they must adhere to a GWP of a maximum 150 when being placed on the market after the 1st of January 2022. Furthermore, we look at Enter Lot 1, the professional refrigeration lot, which contains, for example, condensing units. Just 2 days ago, the review actually started. There was the first email from the consortium. So we will discuss this in the next month. And this lot will possibly include walk-in cold rooms. And as a subcategory of walk-in cold rooms, it will possibly cover stationary refrigerated containers. These are only possibilities, remains to be seen, but I wanted to give you an outlook what potentially to expect. Then last but not least, eco-design on the fans. The fans have been kind of stalled for a while. And in 2021, we actually expect a new draft of this specific regulation on fans. This is a tricky one we find because fans in HVACR equipment are impacted by it, although some of this HVACR equipment has their own eco-design regulation. And that's why we say we don't like this cascading type of regulations, but it has been gone through the regulatory scrutiny board, and we will have to look at the fans in the future, most likely again. Now I'm coming to Ross, and I asked Torben to actually present this while I just flip the charts.
Yeah, thank you, Dina. So the ROSE directive is actually on the restriction of the usage of hazardous substances in the electrical and electronic equipment. And well, if you have an equipment that is electrically operated, then you are basically in, even it's a component that you put into that into that equipment that is not electrical. So so you have to take a watch on that. There are 11 categories, and well, many of our products within the scope of ASACOM, they can actually become into these categories here. There are also exemptions for very large installations, for instance, but normally it can be difficult to control where your component will be within these categories here. Yeah, try to flip one slide. So this directive has been around for quite a while here, and it means that there are certain exemptions you have to watch here, because in the directive, especially lead is set to be not allowed to be used with a concentration about 0.1%, but there are exemptions here. And these are important because these exemptions, they will also only have a limited time. So actually what is happening is that there is an industry umbrella group that is working together to make the arguments for having these exemptions pushed if necessary, and then also come up with the applications, you can say, the arguments for having these exemptions pushed for the future here. And the exemptions that we are super interested in is really the exemptions with lead, and they are listed here. Also, you can get the presentation afterwards also, and also a little bit on cadmium here, especially on the electrical contacts. So these exemptions listed here are in what we call the PAC 22. And the timeline here actually is that this has been submitted, and it is the Øko Institute who takes care of the handling of these applications for the exemptions also. And here next month there will be an answer from the Øko Institute, and it will be based on their webpage. And then there will be a public consultation also, and they will then also submit their report to the Commission based on all these inputs here and the answers also. That will be around July, and then the Commission has to make a decision on will these exemptions be renewed. We know from history, because we were in the last round also, that the decision from the Commission is likely to be postponed. And the important notice for users is here that these exemptions, they will be valid up to 18 months after the decision from the Commission. So it means that even you have an exemption that will run out in 22, then if the Commission is delayed in the response, then there will then that exemption will still be valid up to 18 months after the decision from the Commission. Yeah, try and flip one.
That's it.
Okay, that's it. Okay, that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Torben, for presenting this topic. Then coming to my wrap up of this session, the European Green Deal is really, really, really impacting us as industry, and heating and cooling is a big topic in the future, heating more so than cooling, but them together are great opportunities actually for gaining energy efficiency. Concerning the Sustainable Product Initiative, that can potentially be a risk, but that risk is always coming with a chance. Resource and material efficiency and non-toxic material cycles will be relevant for our products. And this actually includes not only now regular materials, but it includes F-gas, it includes the REACH regulation and the PFAs, which are currently under discussion. It includes ROS, as Torben just presented, and it includes the eco-design methodology and what the change of that might imply for our products that are covered by it. So in a small sentence, this cradle-to-grave approach will become much, much more prominent, not only for our products, but in general. And I dare to challenge you to already consider it much more today and don't wait for the future before you become active on this. Yeah, I got a question from, or a statement from Francesco on the chat. And the Eurovent interpretation is a different aspect. Obviously, I cannot discuss it here now. We have a clash here, but please look as well at Francesco's issues that he is raising here. More than welcome to actually discuss later on. I hope this is quite okay for you. As well, if you have another question still where I cannot answer now, please still post it, and I'm able to get back to you in the post on this question. Thank you very much for your listening in to this, and I wish you a good following day.